Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career, with a little self-help along the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, people of the world. It's Philip Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Philter, one of the newest episodes in season 7. Thank you so much for the gap in my episodes, but I'm really excited to start this 2025 with just such amazing guests and people doing great work out there in the world. And so today I have joined with me is Ashley and Jasmine from Eat Well Exchange. Now, shout out! I gotta give a shout out to my frat brother Jalen. You know, he's been really advocating to say you had to talk to these two folks on your podcast because they're doing great work in regards to health and wellness and all the things for Black folks. And so I was like, man, of course, you know, I never say no to Jalen. So Jalen, you better listen to this episode and push us out too. But today, join with me is Ashley and Jasmine. Before we get this conversation started, Ashley and Jasmine, whoever wants to take their turn first, just give me a little bit of background on who you are and how we got to this point in your career with Eat Well Exchange.
I guess I can start. I saw Ashley looking at me like, unmute yourself. All right. So my name is Jasmine Westbrooks Figaro, and I'm one of the co-founders of Eat Well Exchange. Ashley and I are both co-founders and registered dietitians. So side note, if you meet a Black dietitian ever in your life, make sure you keep them around because we're like a unicorn. We only make up about 3% of all dietitians in the nation. So we started Eat Well Exchange because we know this from working together as coworkers for the health department, that people that look like us was not really being told to eat their cultural foods. In fact, they were oftentimes told that they were non-compliant for not following recommendations of eating Western foods or foods that were not necessarily familiar to them. And so we started this nonprofit based on a need that we saw in the community, because whenever you go and Google healthy food, especially around this time of the year, right? You're like, okay, what healthy diet can I be on? Put that in Google. You will not see foods from the African diaspora come up. Even if you click on Google Images, okay, you will not see images of our cultural foods. And so we started this organization with that in mind. And we have 3 pillars. And those 3 pillars are educating the community through nutrition education. And we emphasize our education based on cultural foods and why they're healthy, how to incorporate them into your family, into your recipes, into your diet. And we also have culinary programs where you can actually engage with us. So we have culinary programs ranging from kids all the way up to adults, even for men. And then last, we have our access initiatives, because we know that food insecurity, you know, is a really big problem in this country. And it's been a problem. But I think with COVID, it really increased and people started to take notice. And so we have programs and initiatives under our food access pillar.
All right. And Ashley, is there anything you want to add to that, you know, from your background with your co-founder here?
Well, both of us have family history. So both of my parents had diabetes growing up. Grandmother had heart disease, and the same for Jasmine. She's had a lot of family health issues as well. And I know I was always raised and told that it runs in our family. Diabetes runs in the family, everything running. So we're
the sugar.
The sugar. So we're stopping it. We are stopping that in its track because that is not true. And the reason why I say that's not true is because habits run in our family, not diseases. So if your parents are inactive, more than likely you're inactive. If your parents eat something sweet after every meal, which was in my household, you might do the same because you're following those habits. So there is some genetic predisposition for certain medical conditions. We're not, negating that, but we're saying that we have more control and power than we're led to believe. And that's important because that gives us hope. If you're told that you're going to get diabetes anyway, what's the point of changing? But what we do is we tell people, yes, you might be at greater odds, but if we continue to eat our cultural foods in a healthier way, we can do something about it. So we're all about meeting people where they are and just teaching them how it's possible to maintain and honor those traditions and families of our family and still be healthy.
I love it. So, you said you both collaborated or met in the health department. Can you take us to that journey? Like, what was it like? You were just working, what functions and things you were doing in your work to say, hey, we need to start doing this for our own. Take us back to that origin story there.
I love when Ashley explains it because
Okay,
she explains how she met me, like how we met up, and then how we became best friends. And then, so go for it, Ash. You got it.
Okay, so like Jasmine mentioned, in our profession, there's only 2.7% of dietitians that are Black. So that means when you think about our work environment, it's very rare to see another Black woman, a Black person in our field. So at that current time when I was working at the Department of Health, it was myself and Deidre, who's the third co-founder. We were together. And then all of a sudden walks in Jasmine, and you can't tell right now, but she's super tall. She's like this big, gorgeous hair, and she just like walks into the room. And we're like, who's this other Black girl? So we were like, whoa, there's another Black, nutritionist or soon to be registered dietitian at that time. So instantly we were like, let's invite her to lunch. Because, we know how it is. We're very rare in our profession, and you feel lost all the time because you're just at one little chocolate chip, and a big cookie. So we invited Jazz out to lunch, myself and Deidre. And then once we went to lunch, we just connected. We were like, okay, she's our tribe. Like she's somebody we're cool with. We went out to happy hour one day, connected even further. And then eventually one day at brunch, that's when we had that idea. We all saw that we had a passion towards nutrition, towards cultural foods, to being healthy and just making our community better. So once we talked, we locked in and we were like, yeah, let's do this. So we had the decision to make a nonprofit, but it was just brunch talk, mimosas, talking, that kind of thing. And then Jasmine met someone like 2 weeks later. And when she met this pharmacist, he was in a different country. And she starts telling him about our nonprofit and our programs and how we can work together. And he decides to book us, right? That's exciting, right? But the not so exciting part is we didn't have a nonprofit yet.
So we were just saying, you got to file that paperwork.
So that's what we did. Like, I kid you not. This happened we did brunch in December. She met the guy in January. We filed everything in February. So we got everything done. And I think that was that motivating factor because it went from us talking about it being a dream, fun thing to us like, okay, we got to do it now because somebody's requesting our programming.
I love it. No, one of my thoughts too is like when you were going out to lunch for the first time and as nutritionists, were y'all judging what y'all ordered? Because you'd be like, dang, we nutritionists, I can't order what I want. We like, it's like kind of like going out to being accountants and you're going to gamble, right? You're like, this person ain't financially responsible with their money. Like was that when you as nutritionists in that world, do you all like hyper think about what people is eating at the table?
That is so
we
listen
funny. And we don't judge.
Yeah. That's a good question, Ashley. But it's so funny though, because Phil, I promise you at some point during our career, because we've been a dietitians for at least 3 or 4 years now, we're like, we just won't tell people what we do when we first meet them and we're eating. Like that's it. But because it does really like change the environment in the room where then people feel like they have to eat, salad. Right. And it's like, we're not that type of dietitians, I promise you. We love food. We're foodies at heart. So
now one of the thoughts you said the chocolate chip, like, maybe this is your point. Like when you were going to school, like what gravitated your education to nutrition? And how was that experience for both of y'all? Because I'm assuming if it's that experience in the professional world, it must have been that experience even in the classroom. So talk a little bit about both your experiences, one pursuing that as a degree or a field, a study, or profession, and that experience in the education.
Yeah, I could say for me, I did not go to college to be a registered dietitian. I did not even know what that was. I went to college, I think, to be a psychologist. I can't even remember. And then I shifted my major to exercise science. Still don't even know what I wanted to do then, but that's what I changed my major to be. And then I took a science of nutrition course. And I was like, this is cool because in science of nutrition, you learn how you take food that you eat, whether it's a sandwich and how that's broken down, what happens to the carbs, what happens to the protein, what happens to the veggies. And I was like, this is cool. And it was just so relevant because it was showing me how what we eat impacts our health based off of how our body digests it. So I was like, this is actually something I could do something with. Because, a lot of times you learn different types of science, like let's say microbiology, or sometimes you learn, well, we had to take microbiology too, but as well, like, a lot of sciences you learn, it's like, I can't really do anything with it. It already happened. But I felt like with nutrition, it was something that was like constantly relevant to what we're doing every day. And with that in the classroom, it was the same as far as not having a lot of representation. I can say at the college I went to, Florida State, it was a little bit different because a lot of the students that couldn't get into the nursing program took dietetics classwork. And that's because between nursing and dietetics, we have the very similar curriculum. They only take 2 additional classes to be a nurse. So with that being said, a lot of nurses took our pathway. So there was some other Black girls that I was super cool with when I was in my undergrad. But for the most part, people that actually wanted to be a dietitian, I think it was just 1 or 2 of us that were Black women, very slim. And I will tell you something interesting with science and nutrition. I actually teach that course now. So it's a full circle moment because I teach that course at FAMU, and I'm able to give them that same light that I got from taking the course to show them and introduce a lot of my students to the science of nutrition and the field of dietetics.
What about you, Jasmine? Your experience in education in that pursuit?
Yeah, like when I went to school, I went to the University of Tennessee out of Chattanooga, and I went to school to be a veterinarian. So like throughout my entire life, even as a kid, I was like, I'm going to be a veterinarian. I'm going to be a veterinarian. And then I had to change my major to biology. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. So I like when Ashley mentioned that point, because that was exactly me. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. But I really feel like it was more of purpose for me, because when I was kind of going through that stage in college of figuring out what exactly I wanted to do, my mom began to get sick with like GI issues, and they couldn't figure out what was going on with her until she saw a specialist. And her GI specialist actually recommended her to a dietitian. And then like in the past too, I'm like Ashley said, I'm pretty tall and I was very slender at the time. I used to model back in the day, like when you would go to your agencies and you would, see if you can book with maybe like a company to go down a runway, when it was that, right? And so I would always feel like I was never small enough. But if I look at pictures now, I was so tiny. And so I started to develop unhealthy relationships with food. And I think that's what made me be like, okay, I think I need to go into nutrition to really understand how my body needs to utilize food in order for me to be healthy, but also to figure out that missing puzzle piece to why my family members keep dying or being diagnosed with things that actually could have been prevented. And nutrition is that. And so for me, it was a very, I guess, like personal story of I'm actually doing this for a degree, but I'm also doing this for my family, my community, because I'm seeing people dying so much from things that could have been prevented. And just like Ashley mentioned too, about being, the smaller fish in the pond, I guess, when it comes to your classes, it was the same for me. Most of the students in there, they were going to nursing school that were taking nutrition classes, or they were trying to be a physician assistant. So even now, if me and Ashley went to go back to school, which I don't think either of us do, to be a physician assistant, I feel like we're only just one class away or one test away where we could actually do that particular profession. Shout out to my physician assistants out there. But it was very small too. I would say probably less than 20% of every class that I attended was, Black women. And you're really a unicorn if you're a Black male. So, I mean, it was very small chance that I would see, but we began to create a group, and we even became a group so much that the other people in the classes would call us like the Black group.
The Black group, let's get it.
Right. We were lit, we were tight, we studied together, we crammed in for finals together. Like it was really a community, even in that space, that I'm really grateful for.
Now, see it as believe it. Obviously, you, Ashley, is full circle that you're actually an educator now with this. Did y'all have mentors or educators while you were pursuing this? Say, oh, this is someone that does do this for a living. They to ask questions to when you were going through school for nutrition.
Definitely, I feel like we both had a good amount of mentors, incredible mentors. I don't want to start naming and forget anybody, but I know one that was very important for me was Dr. Leslie Gordon. She was actually like one of the first Black dietitians that helped design the actual internship program I went to. And she gave me like the hard truth. She was like that older Black woman who's like, yeah, no, this is not good. Like she'll tell you very straight up, but she was very like elegant. She was very just like, this is what you need to do, very supportive. But she told me how things were. So her, and then there's so many other incredible dietitians that helped us. I know we have Miss Ronice and Miss Rogine, who have their own nonprofit in Orlando, Florida, Ebony Nutrition. And they've been so instrumental because our nonprofit is very similar to theirs. And they actually helped us when it was time to write like our articles of incorporation. And that just shows you that there's so much community over competition. Like, even though we have very similar missions, they know this work needs to be done. And they always jokingly say, like, we're passing the baton to the next generation, because they know that if they hold all their secrets and all of their knowledge to themselves, it won't, it will end with them. So I can just say, like, those, a couple of people there, but just other dietitians have been so instrumental. And just other people in the community have really poured into us and just gave us that confirmation of saying, like, you're doing the right thing. This is necessary. And, to keep going.
I love that, because I call that the jaded uncle syndrome. The jaded uncle is that uncle that's like, life is trash and all that, but you're going to do it, young blood. And they always, They've seen the world, but then they had the hope for maybe we're going to expand it. Now I'm going to call it the jaded auntie too. Where,
I love that. We need to hashtag that.
Yeah, I'm getting there too. I'm almost, I'm turning 40 next year, where I'm like, it's enough to not have complete cynicism, right? You have hope and optimism for the youth, but then you also want to keep it real with them. Like, here's obstacles I face, and I tell you these obstacles because I want you to do it. And I love the word baton, pass it on. And then also to that other point is that, like, they're not gatekeepers, because they understand, like, I ain't going to be here forever. I'm going to do the good work, but also I need to help. Like, I'm not going to block doors because the world blocks doors for young people. I'm going to let the young people take it and run with it. But, better give me credit and better shut me out. That's what I'm saying, is the jaded uncle. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes. And that's funny you mentioned that too, because now we're starting to see ourselves as the aunties, because there's I can't even tell you how many interns that we have had, dietetic interns that either want to do similar work that we're doing, they want to volunteer, and we're very honest with them. Like, we're very transparent, of course, still very professional, but we also let them know, like, they're not alone in it, and that we felt those same feelings and emotions that they felt when they were going through their programs. And so it's again a full circle moment, because our mentors were very transparent with us, like, this ain't good, or this is what I had to deal with. I'm hoping that you don't have to. This is what you need to do to avoid that, Yes. So it's definitely one of those things where it's a full circle moment, and we love taking interns and students to kind of show them the path too.
Now, I love that, because that's a good tail point, because I work in higher ed. I work at George Mason for careers. So your nonprofit, obviously the technology, are you, like, as you say, you're serving all the Black diaspora? Do you have like a regional area that you're really tied into, or are you really getting clients from remote, from all over the country? And inversely, not inversely, but on the interns, are they coming from all over the country, or are they more regionally tied to certain areas?
Yeah, we're all over. We're national, kind of international. Not sure if we're dropping that yet, but we are all over. I'm based in Miami, Florida. Jasmine's based in Raleigh, North Carolina, but she's from Memphis, Tennessee. And then we have done work in different places. When it comes to speaking events, we're everywhere. Like, as far, west is California, we went up to Portland, Maine. Like, we're literally everywhere. And when it comes to our interns, the same. So we take interns from all around the United States. And for us, it's just such a learning experience, because now we're really able to tap into these different regions and learn about different cultures, because we never claim to be the experts. We're learning as we go when it comes to different cultures, because we know that there's so much diversity, even amongst our own culture. So with that being said, we always are learning more from our interns, as well as they tell us about their regions, and also from the people that we serve. So whoever's listening, no matter what city or state you're in, there's definitely ways that we can connect with you.
I'm not doing the shout outs to plugs part now, but then how do you get connected? Are you going to career fairs, or you got a website? How are you getting these interns from all over the country?
Well, I think like we have we consider like an outreach branch of Eat Well Exchange where we're going to career fairs. We're going to, and I think Ashley actually just went to one like this week, a career fair
Today.
in her area. Yeah, we're going to community events. We're going to farmers markets. We're going wherever there are people because everyone needs food. And so when you think on that scale of everyone needs food, then any event can really suffice purpose and connection and interns. And I will say this about interns too. We're not just taking dietetic interns. We're taking interns from public health. We're taking interns that may need to get some marketing experience. We're doing all those, I guess, like just have a diverse amount of interns that we're seeing and utilizing and even just learning from them as well. So I think we're pretty much everywhere when it comes to community. Wherever the community is going, that's where we are. And our partnerships have grown to the point where we used to be in like just other nonprofit organizations, but now we're expanding to actually working with the city. Like Ashley works with the city of Miami. I'm hopefully going to be working with the city of Memphis soon. We've worked with commissioners before because they have health fairs and health initiatives that they want to get out there. So we're in support and that aligns. So it's really about where the masses are, I think. And then we find people that want to volunteer, even if they're not a student, people that want to teach or maybe even become like a community health worker to help run some of our programs, because we see a lot of impact when communities actually teaching their own community, but we're just in the back kind of facilitating. And so I think that's kind of where, we get a lot of involvement from others at this point.
I love that. Thinking about the macro, I mean, you're thinking about like how much diets and it's a systemic issue, right? Like access to a good grocery store, right? They always say like the fancy Wegmans are more affluent areas, and then you go to places in urban areas, they got the fresh vegetables. So during this time, how much have you learned about the system, and more so like you're right, like getting involved with policy making and that government side? Well, because you came from the Department of Health, so I know you already know about that policy and all that. But how much through this nonprofit have you started to get familiarized with the policy and the politics and systemic realm of diets and food?
Yeah, it's that we have learned and keep learning. And I'll give you an example. So I'm a board member for this food co-op. It's a Black food co-op called Fertile Ground. And they're here in Southeast Raleigh, where I am right now. And we're building a grocery store. Now, when most people think of a grocery store, we think of like a huge, massive store, right? But our grocery store is not even comparison to like your local Wegmans or grocery store that you may go to. I don't know what area you may be in, where you may have a Kroger or Walmart or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not even close to that size. But to even get that amount, it's going to be over $11 million for us to raise in order to do that. I also learned too.
Real quick, the 11 million is first of all, I'm like, whoa, like, is that like the zoning?
Where do you get money from?
Yeah. Where do we get this money from? Is that like zoning? Is that like supply chain management to get the food? Where's the 11 million?
Everything. That's everything. Like to build a store and have it running for, I think, like 1 to 2 years. And the thing with the co-op is a co-op is not like a corporate capitalist organization. It's not one company running the store. It's the people in the community that's running the store. And so with the food co-op, you have to recruit members, and there's a membership fee, and now those shares go into keeping the grocery store going. And so that's why it's so important. Like those policies blew my mind as I'm on the board learning these things, even to the point of like market analysis and how grocery stores, they know where they're going to put a grocery store 10 years before they put it there because they've already done analysis 10 years back. Like those are the type of things that blow my mind, but it also shows that food insecurity and food apartheid are very intentional. And it's a lot to do with racism and discrimination. And it's something that I think people need to do more research on to really understand why there are certain areas that look the way they do. And it's based on politics, it's based on funds, it's based on capitalism. And I can go on and on about that.
Don't start me. Because, I'm one of a history major. I love the history, and I love watching these documentaries and nerding out. And you like, I was thinking of like just talking to, and you're hitting a nail on the head. My father-in-law, who I always shout out, he did like, he was instrumental in food stamps. You know,
Mhm.
he worked with Frack. I don't know if you heard of Frack.
Yes.
Yeah, he was literally the guy of Frack in the 70s. But from
Wow.
that, and I'm looking at his picture right now, he was talking about like, it is a system, right? Like, you know, tax dollars, monies, best schools, best groceries, access.
Yes.
Not tax dollar to this, and it's not. And when we think about food insecurity or economics, we're also thinking about rural versus urban, right? Like
Yes.
very rural areas are at a disadvantage to the urban areas, and it's just a whole system.
Yeah.
AKA though, you don't want to be the jaded uncle, but you see in this
Right.
big system, like, wow, I'm going against $11 million. I'm going against policies.
Yes.
Right.
So like with this, as you dive and go into the, you know, the Wizard of Oz, I'm getting excited. The Wizard of Oz has been lifted. How do you, as this Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, how do y'all stay optimistic about doing the good work?
Before we get there, though, I do want to give you a story that's going to like bring it down, then we're going to bring it back up. So when it comes to optimism, that's us getting excited. I remember year 2. So we were founded Eat Well 2017. This was like 2018. I connected with a community garden, and then we developed a program to bring fresh produce to the corner stores in this community. So I was so excited. I remember going to the different corner stores with a community member who was born and raised in this community. So him and I were going to each corner store, and I have like this huge smile on my face, and I'm like, "Hi, I just want you to know that we received funding, and we're going to have free produce for you to sell." Think about this: we're giving the corner store free produce for them to sell. So that means they get 100 or 200% profit because they're not buying anything. So I was so excited. I said, "Okay, well, let us know what day you want to deliver it, and we can bring you a rack." And I'm telling them all these things. And 5 out of 6 of the corner stores told me no. And I was like,
Skepticism.
"What do you mean? It's free." And they're like, "Oh, the people aren't going to buy it." And I was like, "Huh? But it's free." And they're like, "Oh, well, are you going to come back and pick it up when they don't buy it?" And I was like, "Come on, y'all. You could just like, let's be honest. If they don't buy it, can't you just throw it away?" But it's the fact that they didn't even want to entertain the idea of giving the community better options, even with no penalty to them. So now when you think about that, and of course, this is just one city, one group of corner stores, but that kind of puts you in the mind frame of saying, like, when people have to pay to put things in place, which is a bigger risk, what are the likelihoods that they'll do it if people won't even do it for free? So we have had those moments where we've been so excited about things and we go to get it done, and then it's just like, nobody cares, you know? But I can say what helps me bounce back from those moments is the fact that we know that I could say for me, for that one loss, there's going to be 10 wins. And that win is going to come in different ways. And also because we're so aligned with the community, we always try to talk to people and find out what they need. Because maybe they didn't need fresh produce in the grocery store right now. Maybe they want to grow food on their own. So the more you get aligned with the community, the more you find out what they need, and the more likely it is that things will go right for you. Not perfect, because, you know, sometimes things still happen, but at least there's more driving forces behind you that are propelling you. So that's my thing. I do encourage anybody listening, if you have your nonprofits, you have your businesses, always connect with the community. Make sure you're doing what they want and not what you think they want. And then you're more likely to have good success because now they're pushing behind you because this is actually something that they care about at that moment.
They bought in. So, you know, from that lesson, from that lesson, you know, is it now more so like I'm an idea person, but now is it more like slowing down and doing focus groups, or, you know, going to places, ask what they want, and then plan? Like how did you turn that lesson into something, you know, that you can use moving forward?
Yeah, that as far as focus groups and working with the community, but a big lesson, I'll just put that out there, is none of those stores were Black owned.
There you go.
So that's our other solution there. So if there's more spaces, even if it's not, you know, an $11 million grocery store, even if there's a small mom and pop, if there's something like that, let's connect with them.
Yes.
Because, you know, for us, we wanted to work with who was in that community, which was, you know, primarily, you know, different culture. You know, that's all that community had. But that just shows, even if there's one smaller grocery store that's family owned, let's invest in that. Let's connect with them. Even if we don't have a grocery store, if we can just set up shop like we currently do and do a free farmers market where we bring fruits and vegetables to a location to give to people. If we can do that, let's do that. So it's really about aligning with the people that want to see the community win.
Yeah.
Not people that are just in proximity, but people that actually have invested interest in seeing the community members win. And that's the people that you can go further with.
And then
don't convince nobody.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, but a yes and, because then like think about it like, and I hate the word, like not hate it, but like allyship to co-spirator, right? Like, but then you know that there are people of different identities in certain spaces that you might need to partner with them.
Right.
Absolutely.
Gotta be aligned.
Elevate your stuff. And so seeing like, maybe this owner is of Korean descent. I'm just making that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Korean descent, and they own the corner store, and then like having to like figure out what's the win-win, because they're gonna still have that corner store, but you need to know that connecting with them is going to impact the community that is mostly Black. So is there any things where you've seen, particularly in your nonprofit, of collaborations with people that were, maybe that's the question is there been opportunities to have collaborations with people you never thought you would have collaborations with?
Absolutely.
That buy into the mission.
Yes, I know for me, like in the triangle, and it's funny because being here, I know this, and I don't know a better way to say this, but I feel like there are certain people of Caucasian descent that kind of get it. And if they don't get it, they admit they don't get it, but want to know.
Yeah.
And they do it in a way that's very respectful. And I noticed that a lot in Durham, North Carolina, specifically, because there's a lot of food access initiatives that are run by a lot of our Caucasian brothers and sisters, I'll be honest. But they also understand when they need to step back and let other people step forward to be able to drive the mission and the vision they have for the organization. Yeah. And so I think I've been able to really partner with a lot of individuals like that in the area. And it's very beneficial because they're on the same team as us. And what's crazy is they can flex in rooms that I will never be in. Mm-hmm. And that's even better, because it's like, as long as you know who we are, what we stand for, and you got to get a feel of what we do, I'm depending on you as an ally to be in that room that I know I will never be able to step face in and be respected. But I have an ally to take up for us to say, hey, I know this is going on, A, B, and C. This is where we need funds to go. This is where we need capital to go. This is where we need, volunteers to go, et cetera. So I definitely think that helps a lot. And I do want to say something else too. And this is something that I think Ashley and I have noticed, going back to like the 3% of dietitians being Black, is one time we hosted a Black dietitian panel at this Black-owned grocery store in Raleigh, North Carolina. And a lot of people came, whether it was Black farmers, whether it was community members, it was some healthcare professionals. And if I'm honest, a lot of those people did not understand what a dietitian is responsible for doing. And I think that's kind of a little bit of the issue too, is that, when you think of a dietitian, you think I'm going to be put on this strict diet. I'm the food police. You're not going to be able to eat some of your favorite foods.
The unseasoned food police.
Only use salt and pepper.
No seasoning.
Right. You're going to tell me to cut back on Lowry's. Now we may say on that. Just a little bit, I just found out they got a salt-free version of that. But anyway, it's just funny that, people don't know what dietitians do. And I think that's one of the issues too, that's really kind of like putting a question mark in people's mind of like, oh, I don't want that, because they don't realize the extent of what we do. So I'll just throw that out there.
Well, I think, as I've navigated and having these conversations, and you're teaching me things new, is we just understand that there's a hidden curriculum to the world. Like you don't know about finances till you're in rooms with people that talk finance, and you're like, dang, I didn't know I was supposed to save my money this way. Similar to the food, right? Like you don't know until those rooms, like, wow, like I didn't even know there was a salt-free Lowry's, like it's a hidden curriculum, but like, once again, I always love this Wizard of Oz thing. As you understand it, it's like, okay, now I have a responsibility. It's like almost like I can't keep this hidden stuff to me. I got to bring other people with me. Like I got this information that like I got to put people on the game. When was that for y'all? That thought of like, yo, I'm learning so much about the world of food that is like, I have to, like, I can't just sit on this. I have to get it out, or I didn't do my due justice to this world. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
like if I died today and no one else knew this, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? What was that moment? that light bulb for y'all?
I can say for me, well, tragically, my mom passed away when I was only 14. So she had diabetes. And before that, she was trying to manage her condition with all these diets, South Beach diet, all kind of stuff that her doctor was telling her. And, my dad, had health issues as well. And pretty much it was always them just trying to figure it out. And the doctor giving them a piece of paper that told them to eat and do certain things. They've never met with a dietitian. And I didn't know what that was at all. It wasn't even like an option. So then, after my mom passed away and I noticed how much that shifted my life, when I went to college and learned more, I was like, we can help, and another thing also being in a different environment. Tallahassee is so much different than growing up in Liberty City, where I'm from, in Miami. So Liberty City is a food desert, very insecure area. Tallahassee, there's Publix's, Albertsons, whatever at that time, every couple of, mile or something. So of that being said, people have more access. It's more walkable. There's just all of these changes. So that's when it hit me. I was like, hold on. So my people don't have to die. Like, we don't have to have death sentences when it comes to conditions like diabetes. Number one, it's preventable. And also, even after getting diagnosed, it's completely treatable. You can live a long, healthy life after being diagnosed with diabetes. But it's because no one is giving our people education. And for me, that's like that motivating factor, knowing that I'm that person that could have saved my mom if I knew the information that I know now. So it's always like that burning fire whenever I meet new people to say like, hey, let me just give you hope. You don't have to change everything today. You can learn how to eat foods that are healthier. And whenever people say they don't eat vegetables, I talk to them further and find out they're eating cabbage, they're eating rutabagas, they're eating all kind of things, but they just don't consider them. I don't know why, but we don't think about our cultural foods as vegetables. You only think
about collard greens as vegetables.
Yes, okra.
Don't do that.
Black eyed peas. Come on.
Yeah. So
that's a
me,
very powerful story. It's almost like kind of like the education. Like you're reaching individuals to save lives, and like reach one, teach one. Right, that one life that's good enough. You can stand on business on that. Right,
Yeah,
but now you're magnifying the impact. I love that. One of my thoughts, and you said this earlier, Jasmine, is like, what about the misnomer of body image and healthy, right? Like, for instance, I know as a proud Black man that I like shape. You know what I'm saying? And when I say that, right, there's a difference between you being in shape and eating healthy and not being a stick. You know what I'm saying? But then we tie that, right? Like, you got to be, 0% body fat and eat this to be considered healthy, when we know that health, we got NFL linemen, 300 pounds, but they're considered, they're cardiovascular, their body is not always attached. Health is not always attached to aesthetics. How do you promote that to people that, like, you don't need to sit in be in a size 0 jeans to be healthy, right? You can eat foods and have a healthy body image and still be a full person. How do you navigate those conversations?
Yeah, there's so many layers to that. I think one of the things that we do in our programs is we actually don't check weight often. We more likely check habits. If weight happens to fall off throughout the process, then that's great. And that's a good tangible way for them to see that. We ask other questions. How do you feel? Do you notice something different in your skin and your hair? What about your energy levels?
Yeah.
Like all those things that they realize that they really do care about, because either it's helping them function better at their job, at their school, spend more time with family. It's giving them longevity versus like the up and down roller coaster of being on a particular diet. Other things too it's funny because we study a lot about different cultures and what they think about foods and weight. And there are some cultures that actually like weight, like it's
I know about that.
Right.
Like,
this is wealth.
The more full you are, you rich.
You're rich. Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that we try to teach to other dietitians when we do like trainings for other dietitians and explain to them how to provide culture focused nutrition, is that sometimes it's actually more empowering to not focus so much on weight. But we notice that it does come up a lot because it's almost like brainwashed in us that, like, if I lose weight, I'm healthy. And I always remind them, cancer patients can lose weight. Okay.
Right, yeah.
People who are malnourished can lose weight. And we shouldn't associate weight only with like a factor that's healthy. So we give them other pieces of information to consider to know that they're on a healthy journey. And I think that's one best way to do it. How can it apply to your life besides weight? I've had one person like make a list. Give me goals of things you want to improve for your body except weight. Don't bring up weight on this list. What other things do you want from yourself besides losing weight? And it's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing the type of things that they put. I mean, it will bring you to tears just hearing, like, I want to be here for my grandchildren. Yeah. You know, I want to be able to go up the stairs and not feel like I'm about to pass out, right? Yeah. I want to live long because my dad and my mom died at 50, right? And that's the oldest that most people in my generation have gotten. So it's like those deeper things I think can drive them, even when they're going through those difficult times of trying to really make lifestyle changes and habits that's going to last for a very long time.
How about blood work? Is that going there? Because, you know, like saying like
absolutely, the blood, and we explain like, that. Yes,
vitamins, you're not anemic or whatever, and all that.
Yes.
Stuff.
And that's important because if we're honest, like Ashley and I have both worked with doctors and in these different clinics before, and it's not against the doctors because we know they have a certain amount of time to see a lot of patients, right? And sometimes they may not have time to sit down and explain the lab work, but we go over that. A1C, what that means, your glucose levels, your lipid levels, meaning for your heart, what do you need to improve in? What cultural foods can you eat that you're already familiar with that's going to improve those lipid labs? So we definitely go through labs, and we're in our programs, we're partnering with clinics so that people have access to those screenings and can get that privacy with the phlebotomist to ask those questions. And we go over in our classes and programs too, especially during our cooking classes. We usually reference, you know, this can lower this. Oh, you like the taste of this? Add this because this is going to improve A, B, C, or D. So that's kind of how we engage.
How about to combat, you know, the rise in pharmaceuticals, you know, like we have more agency and like think we're like big pharma, you know what I'm saying? Like that we're so reliant on medicines, but you know, like you said, you could change your diet and lower your blood pressure. So have you had these, is that part of the, you know, the discussions with people like, yo, can you get me off these high blood pressure medicines and stuff like that?
It isn't, you know, there's a process to it. You know, whenever you are put on any type of medications, there is a way to wean yourself off of those medications as you're starting to make healthy choices. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to pharmaceutical, let's be real, like some people want a quick fix. We're in this world where people don't want to work for the long term or the longevity of their health. And I think it has to be a mindset change for us to be able to support you throughout that process. Me being I'm a diabetes educator. I see that a lot, especially with these new, you know, weight loss medications out now, the GLP-1s, those are the medications that people are taking to lose weight. And people don't know that those medications at first were developed for those who have diabetes to help decrease their weight, but also decrease their appetite so that their blood sugars don't spike up as high. And so now the pharmaceutical company has caught a hold of that now you can actually use this for a weight loss drug. But the thing is, just like with bariatric surgeries too, you still have to change your lifestyle and eat, because if
you'll bounce back.
If you're decreasing appetite and you're only eating, you know, half a honey bun and a shake the day and you're losing weight, but you feel like you're healthy, I can tell you right now, you're not. You're probably malnourished. And so you still have to have counsel in what can I eat? And even with my appetite being very small, what can I eat to nourish my body where my hair won't fall out, you know, where my skin won't break out, all these different things. So I definitely think that's why it's important too, if you can, I know access can be a problem, to see a dietitian so you can get that counseling and that, you know, I guess like one-on-one that's very personable to your experience.
It was really helpful. You know, one of the thoughts, and I think we'll go to our next segment because I love this conversation, is then what is some of the future? You know, what does the future hold for y'all? You know, like I know I'm not a person of resolutions, but I do have a vision board and all that. What's the goals for this nonprofit for 2025 and beyond?
Well, for us, it's expansion, but in the right way. So if that being said, we have a lot of programs right now, a lot of them Jasmine listed earlier, like our kids culinary. We have a Heritage to Health program, which is to help prevent diabetes. We have programs in English, Spanish, and also Haitian Creole. We have gardening programs. So all of these great programs we just want to see them spread throughout the nation. So having instructors in different places, connecting, that's of different churches, fraternities, sororities, organizations, and seeing who can host. You already signed up. And seeing who can host these programs. Saying, okay, in my community, we do have an issue with, men passing away in their 40s from heart attacks. So what can we do about this? Getting those men together and saying, all right, Eat Well, come in, let's run this program. So it's for our programs expanding throughout the nation. Also for us to do more trainings, because again, we said education is key. So the more people we can reach, the better. And we know talking to the community directly is great, but also the healthcare professionals. Because if we tell you one thing and then your doctor saying another thing, and you're hearing all these different voices, it gets confusing. So we want to continue to educate these healthcare professionals to ensure that we're all on one page, and then more materials, because we know that, we only can do so much with our voices and the voices of others around, but just creating more materials so that way Eat Well Exchange is a common household name when it comes to learning about nutrition and learning how to better modify your cultural foods. Did I get them all, Jazz?
Check and check.
So we're going to a segment called Shot for Shot. Now we got 3 people. So you can collab, and both y'all ask me any random question, and then I'll ask a random question that you both can answer. Who wants to go first? I'll go first.
Oh, I know. What's your favorite food?
All right. So, I'm going to just say this right now. I love anything from the continent of Asia. And so that's just my go-to. So like, Japan, sushi, Vietnamese pho, ramen, anything, rice. I'm like, man, I did a study abroad in China when I was in undergrad. And I was like, man, this is it. This is I'm Blackanese. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love anything but I just love spice too. Like, I love hot stuff, like hot pot. So I will say anything under the umbrella of Asian, particularly Southeast Asian, spicy Southeast Asian. That's my go-to. I love it.
You can eat with us any day. Any day, because I think that's our favorite too. We're actually going to be in Thailand for speaking at a conference. So if you got some recommendations, let us know.
I don't know about I want to go to Thailand. Like, one of my bucket list things is to go to Japan and just straight up do all the different things, ramen, all that. But yeah, that just overall umbrella. If I took like the pockets, right, like Italian food, whatever, it's got to be. That's my go-to. My wife hates it. Like, what you feel like eating? I'm like, Asian, just anything, and go through the menu, and then dive in and do the individual cultures. Shout out to my boy Cambodian, my friend. He's Cambodian. He put me on the game about Cambodian. It's all different, right? It's all these different flavors. A lot of coconut in Cambodia. All right, my question for you. I don't care if they said this junk is going to kill you, but you don't care. You're going to eat it anyway. What is that one guilty, I don't care, I'm never giving this up food?
I actually know what I'm going to say with this one. I'm never giving up hot wings. Ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
ever.
That's the bet. I would never give them up either.
And look, it's not just any kind of hot wing. It is a Memphis style Crumpy's hot wing, baby. Okay. I will never give that up. I will fight for that Memphis Crumpy hot wing. Shout out to Crumpy's in Memphis, because they have some really good and you know what, Philip? It has to be the whole hot wing. Like, don't call it a wing if it's just
not just the flat or the drum. It needs to be all of that, right? Not the flat or drum.
That's my guilty pleasure right there.
I love it. How about you, Ashley?
Chocolate, brownies, chocolate, any type of chocolate. Keep it.
There it is. Ice cream, hot, cold, just chocolate.
Oh yeah, ice cream. I like the hot cold. So like the warm brownie with a scoop of ice cream. I don't care. They're like, oh, it's poison. Bet.
Yeah, okay, I'm doing it. All right, I'm so inspired. I got one more question. I've been watching this junk, so I'll go down the rabbit hole. Your last meal. I've been watching this. There's this guy on Instagram. He eats the last meal of famous serial killers and stuff, and you'll see. I'll send this to y'all via. It's the most random stuff. Like, one person will just want all Snickers bars, or what would be your last meal? And I want to answer mine too. I want to hear y'all's first.
Yeah, I like fish. Like, I like the snapper, like where it's the whole fish with the head on and everything. So I would say like a whole snapper. And then I also like mushrooms too. So like sauteed mushrooms. So the whole snapper with like some onions, peppers, like that kind of escovitch style, some sauteed mushrooms on top of that. And then Yeah, I think I'll be good with that, with just that whole fish, the mushrooms, and maybe some like rice and peas or something like that. But as long as I got that whole fish with the head on it, I'm good.
Yeah, she busts down on a whole fish. Like she will clean the bone. She will clean the bone.
Yeah, 'cause I was about to say, what's yours, Jasmine? Because I'm about to say mine real quick.
I think
Last meal.
I think it's just I hate to keep saying hot wings, but
No,
like
You
no.
like
me,
noodles too, Jazz?
I do. I like it's between that and Asian food. Like I really do
Mhm.
love sushi is my thing. Like sushi is everything to me.
Full sushi boat. I was
Yeah.
about to tell you why I'm stretching it out. I'm not going to die anyway, so I was going to get like the cowboy. I was going to get the cowboy steak, right? The big 72 ounce
Whoa.
challenge, and then a whole bottle of bourbon.
I
The
didn't know
reason
they
why I
do
said-
that.
Ooh.
72 ounces?
Yeah, there's a cowboy cut that's like a challenge in like Aberdeen, Texas, where you eat the 72 ounce steak and
Wow.
get it for free. Point is, I'm doing that because I'm just going to take my time and eat this big steak and drink the whole bottle of bourbon because I'll be lit, and then they can execute me.
So it's not a meal for you. It's a
there's
whole
bit
day
of strategy.
mentality.
There's a little bit of strategy there.
It's a whole day mentality for you. It's not.
Nah, they're going to take me out. I'm going to eat this really good steak and this whole bottle of bourbon and take my time.
I
Sit
love
there
it.
quietly. All right. Well, thank you so much. I didn't mean to end on a morbid note. You know, if you do want to take me out for a 72-ounce steak, that'll be a positive. I won't flip it. Take me out. I'll eat the steak. This is the part of the show called shout outs and plugs. So shout out, show love to anyone you want to show love to anyone, and then plugs. These are the things that I will include in the show notes for people to follow up, things you're working on, things like that. So both of y'all, shout outs and plugs. I keep my mouth shut. The stage is y'all's.
I want to shout out to Ashley. So Ashley and I have been best friends before we started the organization, and we have just grown. Like I've gotten married. Ashley has moved. Like there's just so many personal and professional things that we've grown to see each other grow in. So I'm gonna shout out Ashley, and I'm gonna shout out my husband. We just got married last year, April, and he is the #1 supporter of Eat Well Exchange. Like anytime he's in a food space, he's like, "You heard about Eat Well Exchange? You need to look them up. You need to, So I'm gonna shout out those two people right now.
Yes. And shout out back to Jazz, of course. She's phenomenal, always able to get things done, and we're the perfect balance of each other. And then also Jazz, her husband, you didn't mention this part, but he's actually an incredible pit master. He has his own rub, 80/20, and it is the best. And it's dietitian approved because, he's married to one. I'm just kidding. But other shout outs, I would give one to my sister. She owns a co-working space in Miami, Florida. And then I have a lot of my girlfriends that have businesses as well. And the other co-founder, Deidre, we'll shout her out too. She's an IBCLC, which is an international board certified lactation consultant. She works with the mommies that have newborn babies and also pregnant women to teach them how to breastfeed. And another shout out, Diversify Dietetics. So they help connect you with dietitians from different cultures all throughout the world. Their main focus is getting more dietitians. So helping students become dietitians. So they're helping, our overall goal.
And then plugs, things that you want to make sure that I include in the show notes, the websites, anything like that.
All right. Our website is eatwellexchange.org. We're at Eat Well Exchange on Instagram, Twitter, every platform. We have started a new YouTube channel. So we have videos where kids can cook along with us. So we have kids cooking, cultural recipes. We did mangou from the Dominican Republic. We did Haitian spaghetti. We did green beans, grits. We got everything on there. So definitely go to our YouTube channel. We do have Twitter or X, whatever it's called as well. All of those platforms are Eat Well Exchange.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. Everyone that's a listener, please support Jasmine, Ashley, and Deidre, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
And please support Eat Well. I'll put all their information in the show notes. As you know, every episode is dedicated to the memory of my late father-in-law, Jeff Kirsch. And for his food insecurity, you can donate to the Jeff Kirsch Anti-Hunger Fund for all the things he did combating food insecurity. If you're a part of the Mason Nation, please consider submitting a patch for Patriots to elevate kindness around George Mason and all those things. But this has been a great episode. Please support my wonderful guest, and please continue to engage with Positive Philter Podcast. Thank you so much, and we're out.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.